Hi, this is Catherine Rose. I'm with BoardGameGeek. I'm joined here with Chris Ham from Colossal Games, and he's here to talk to us a little bit about Almanac, the Dragon Road. But first, why don't you tell us what's going on with Colossal Games these days? Can you give us some news?
So much. It's really great to talk to you, Catherine, and the whole Digital Lesson audience. Yeah, we are actually, just still making games. We're all happy to still be doing that in this tough year. And in fact, next Tuesday, we launch our first party game called B Movies, where you use goofy little card art drawn by a couple famous artists from France, and you formulate your most cheesy B movie titles. It comes in a VCR style box. We're running a poll where players can vote to make the cheesiest cover that will be drawn on it of sleeve. And the bottom of the box actually doubles as a play piece. It's full of popcorn tokens. So it's just set in the center of the table, and when players score in certain ways, they reach in and take popcorn out of it and hide them in front of them. So I'm kind of, known for being such a ruthless hardcore gamer and tester, but I have a soft spot in my heart for party games and B movies. So it's all coming together for this one.
Yeah, a real hot pot of everything you love, right? It sounds like a lot of fun. We'll definitely keep our eyes out for
some of my alternate nerd sweet spots.
I mean, you can never have too many B movies, right? And party games are always, that late night at a convention. Not that we've had many conventions this past year, but
Yeah, it's exactly
when we
that
finally
kind
have
of
a
crowd,
chance.
Just fun. Everybody's gonna laugh. We laugh when we're doing the streams, just talking about it on our own Facebook page. We just put the combinations together and we can't even help ourselves. When I have a soft spot for disco being one of the cards. So, disco in insert random horror thing, like disco zombie spaceship or something. You just can't see there.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a departure for us, but we're excited to have it, and it's going to be a fun project for Halloween.
Yes, definitely. Well, we'll definitely have to be keeping our eyes out for that.
Yeah,
but Almanac, right? That's our main thing right now. Why don't you tell me a bit about that?
Okay, so Almanac, the Dragon Road is designed by Scott Alms, who we love. Scott is total joy to work with, absolute genius. And what he's done here is created a medium weight worker placement style game, but the board is the game book. All right, it's set in this whimsical fantasy world of Baloria, and players will always begin their journey as merchants at the outpost here, and they will travel through the world to the Dragon City, following a different path based on the choices they make. And they will visit 5 additional places besides the outpost, so 4 in between. And those can be variable, so you won't necessarily visit the same place each time you play. And each board has a unique worker placement rule that governs it. So it is tied to the nature of the place, and you feel as though you're going to a unique location in this world, a light choose-your-own-adventure aspect, if you will. And as soon as Scott showed it to us, we were just like, wow, that's going to be awesome. So as you can see, they have it set up on the table here. Looks like we're set up for 2 players. In the beginning of the game, you randomly determine first player, and each preceding player in turn order gets a little extra gold to offset that. And we start at the outpost. And so you see we have our starting caravan and a couple of contracts. You can fulfill your contracts if you choose the space on a page that has that as an option. There's actually not a space to do that on the first. Is that a stamp? It may be. Yes. Okay. So in the top space there, yes, thank you. That little stamp is where you can fulfill contracts. You would just take that action with one of your workers and discard the goods that fill the contract on one of your cards if you should have that. But the rule for this first board is each player can only place 1 worker in each hut. So that's the unique rule that governs the outpost. So let's just go ahead and get going on that. And and I'll walk us through it. And ideally, we get to experience a little of the adventure in the early pages of the book.
Sounds
So
good.
that you would
Let's get going.
understand, I'll just go first, and I would select the gain 3 goods in the bottom right hut there at the very bottom space. So those 3 would go into my inventory on my wagon there. Yes. And then you would choose a space. And so the space available to you that you see, if you just see the little crates, those are the goods, and you would take goods of those type. The round spaces with the values in them are places where you can sell those goods for the price indicated. Now, all money converts to fame at the end of the game because we're trying to become the most famous merchant in all of the land by our adventure, our wealth, the business we grow, the monsters we slay, the adventures we have, etc. So you can, of course, sell goods that you acquire. The little circular wagon wheel is where you can go to acquire a new wagon. There actually should be 4 caravan cards, or 2 caravan cards face up there at the top, because there are 2 of us playing. And if you have the goods shown on that and sufficient money when you take that action, you can purchase it and add it to your caravan, growing the length of your wagon train, the number of crates in which you can store goods. And if they have a worker symbol on it, adding to the number of workers that you have up to a maximum of 6. Additionally, that green diamond is the fame that they represent, value at the end of the game. The shield represents any additional strength that it adds to your caravan for when you encounter unsavory characters upon the road, if you should happen to do so. So if if I can suggest what you might want to do, or you're welcome to just take a couple actions.
Lincoln can make a choice. Where do we want to go?
Sure, Lincoln.
Aha.
All the goods.
Can never have too many, right?
Well, you definitely want to sell them down the road at the profit. So it's useful, because money also allows you to bid for guide, which we'll be doing here shortly. So then it just alternates back and forth. I would go to the top left hut there, where there are 2 yellow goods available. And I would take those and just add them to carts in my wagon. And then it would be back to you. And of course, remember, you can only place 1 of your workers in each hut. That's the restriction on this board. So if you had met any of the requirements for getting a wagon, that would be a good option to take that. The requirements in goods are in the upper left-hand corner on the wagon. I can't really see it as well from here. But if you have that, yeah, so that would be 1 blue and 1 green. So that's Ever Ice and Dew Leaf. And the other one is a red and a yellow. So that is an Ember Spice and a Skyfish. And yes, Scott came up with those names. There's a funny story behind how he wound up with his currencies. And so if you have those, I would recommend placing in the middle space of one of those huts with the wagon wheel and then purchasing it.
Well, then let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like just goods were selected. So, of course, you place those in your wagon. And as you can see, your wagon starts to fill up quickly. So then it becomes, you're managing your inventory, trying to sell, but also have the right things to get the wagons you would like. So in fact, I would move my piece next time to the space that lets me sell yellow for 3 each, because I have all yellow. And you don't have to sell all of them. You can sell any number of the type indicated that you wish. So those would all be returned to the supply, and I would gain 15 gold, which would then be put behind my shield.
But now you said you could only go to each hut once. Is that correct? So you couldn't technically do that.
Did I just cheat? I can't see very well.
I'm just double checking the rules here. Just double checking the rules.
You've got me. You got me. So what we could do to clear that up is you actually see the space with the door on it. That is the shop, and the shop provides a couple of options. You can actually sell any good of any amount there of a single type for 2 gold each. So that would prevent me from cheating. So that would actually only be 10 money. But yes, I would go to that door so I'm not violating the rules. Yes, right there in the center of the top blue hut.
You're already there, though, man.
Oh, I didn't realize that was blue. Are there any other sellable?
Right.
Okay, well then I'll just take I didn't realize that was blue. I'm sorry. I'll just place me on the goods in the bottom of the top right hut. I thought I was yellow. That's what's confusing me. The goods are going on the cart at the bottom with the yellow meeple. So, okay. And then you would take your last action.
Confused you. Sorry about that. Let's go with that.
It's okay. It's okay. We're all juggling the challenges of being remote. Believe me, I appreciate the hands-on
you have
on display.
You're receiving goods and you have too much. Is there a way to just offset some and take the others if you need those items?
Yeah, you get to choose which ones. So you can either discard incoming goods, to discard goods that are already there to make room.
Did you want to see
it's basically your choice to juggle your inventory as you wish. Now, if you have what you need to fulfill one of those contracts in your inventory, you take the stamp action, which the only one on this board is in the upper left-hand building, and then you simply discard the goods. You immediately you will score the fame for it at the end of the game, and each contract, which there are something like 30 of them, provides an ongoing unique ability over the course of the game. So obviously, the sooner that you are able to fulfill contracts, the longer that this provides a benefit. For example, the Dewleaf Farmers Society, each time you enter a new location, which we'll enter 5 more if we were to play the full game, it would provide you a free dew leaf. So that, some of them add strength to your caravan, some of them allow you to mix and match. They all provide you interesting little abilities that add to the nature of each game being different every time you play. So have we all placed? Oh, she still has 1 worker left. So if she can sell, that would be good for her.
I can also buy the. I can buy the cart too.
Oh, you should definitely buy.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we go someplace specifically on the board, or we just?
Yeah, you go to a wagon wheel spot in one of the huts.
We can't go on that one.
Neither of those may be available, but we're just going to allow it for this one because we're playing remote and trying to figure it out. And so you would discard the goods indicated on the wagon that you wish to purchase, pay the money that is on that as well from your cash supply, and then add that wagon, literally link it to your caravan, just putting it beside it. And if it provides an additional worker, you get that immediately and can use it to take another action when it would be your turn again, which of course I'm out of workers, so it would be immediate. So you should only have 1 hut left that you could play in, and realistically you would want to just acquire some goods. Now, if there's a little bit of a decision to be made there, something that's interesting is if you look at the bottom of the left page, it shows you our 2 destinations that we could go to. We could go to the Cloud Monastery, or we could go to Razorbeak Canyon. Well, there's a little chart there running left to right on the goods. And what that tells you is the leftmost good sells for the most money at that location and is in descending value to the right. And on the right to the left is the presence of the goods. So the goods on the right will be more plentiful at that location, and the goods on the left will be more valuable. So if you think you want to bid for where we go, then you would want to choose goods that make it more valuable. See, that demonstrates the supply and demand of the various locations, which is part of the strategy. You're trying to acquire the goods easily here, and then that can dictate where you want to travel because you would like to sell them where they're more valuable. And so if we were to go to the Cloud Monastery, which then blue Everice would be the most valuable. Given that there's not a spot available for that,
now to decide where we're going. Is that correct?
So we'll be doing that once all the actions are finalized. So you would probably want to just take the 2 green and 1 yellow action there, because when in doubt, get as many goods as you can. Okay. And so that would conclude the action phase because everyone has taken their turns. And so then in secret, we would bid for the role of the guide. Now, there are a couple of things that are going to happen here. The guide will decide which of those places we go to, and they will play first when we get there. So, of course, that's an advantage. But they will also be the first person to face the encounter, which if it's a monster, they may defeat it. They may be the only ones to fight it, which that can be good if you're strong. If you're weak, sometimes you want your weak caravan to hide in the back. So Scott has an interesting twist on the blind bid mechanic here. Both players would choose money, which we can't really do this because we're not together, but you would choose an amount of gold in your hand that you want. Of course, each player puts them out, and then you reveal. Now, what's interesting is, yes, the player that bid the most will get the guide token, but they only pay as much as the lowest bid. So you might bid 10, but if I only bid 1, you only wind up paying 1. All right. Now that gets very interesting when you have 4 players in the game, right? So, if you're bidding a lot, then you're not really sure, but it's a nice way to offset somebody bidding 30 and then everybody else bids 0 and they get stuck for 30. So it was very clever of Scott to do that. So in this case, since I've played, we're just going to say that you bid 2 and I bid 1 and you get to be the guide. So we'll let you decide on the adventure of where to go. So then the player who had to pay, which would be, you would just place 1 gold in the bank. And did you say the Cloud Monastery?
The stones or jewels I got, so I definitely want to go there and sell them.
Yes, correct. So now you've made your decision, but before we go, you see there's a blue A down there at the bottom.
Yep.
That means you're going to draw the A encounter deck off the top of the encounter deck, which is set up at the start of the game. And now this is what we're going to face. And so you read the flavor text, and as you can see, they're not all fights by any stretch. So there'll be flavor text describing the whimsical fantasy world that we're traveling from. It's a flock of skyfish and all of these things. And then often you're presented with a choice. So, and the guide generally gets to decide. So the guide, each player, so starting with the guide and then proceeding clockwise order, you can sell skyfish, so you can gain 5 gold, or you can keep the skyfish and gain 1 skyfish. The guide gains 2. So in this case, Lincoln would decide which one he wanted to do. Then I would take my turn and decide which one I wanted to do.
You got lots of skyfish, so you would want to sell those.
Oh, I'm definitely going to sell. We're going to sell.
So it says at first you think go ahead.
Oh, go on.
At first you think the loud fluttering is just the wind through the leaves. You soon realize that a school of skyfish are coming your way. It is unusually low altitude. It is an unusually low altitude for them to fly, and you will not miss the opportunity. Run for your caravans and grab your nets. Okay, so your choices are sell or keep. Okay.
Exactly.
So I'm going to sell 2, might as well.
There you go. And so that's an example of, sometimes it's a monster, sometimes there are like fairs or all kinds of different things that you encounter. And there's in the base game, there's four or five encounters at each level, and you're only going to face one. So again, the adventure will be different every time that you go through.
On this
Okay.
this journey to become the most famous merchant, is that right?
Exactly. So combination of wealth and fame and travel the world and get out and
Right.
meet interesting new people, right? And so I would sell my goods, and then we would travel to the page that is indicated there, which in this case is simply page 2. So you just turn to page 2 of the book. Now this means on this journey, we will never go to page 3. We have taken a different path. And so then this is the Cloud Monastery, and there's, flavor text that describes it in, the fantasy realm that we are in. It, of course, expresses a new rule that is unique to this location that, in this case, you cannot place adjacent to an opponent's piece. Now, in the 2-player game, because some pages have rules specific for just that player count, in this, you cannot even place diagonal to another player's piece. And then it also, you see those scrolls. So one interesting element of Almanac is that there will be bits that you don't use in every game. So because we traveled here, you would take the scrolls, the letter tokens out. And if you visit one of the places with a letter token on it, you're committing to delivering a letter if you visit that location for one of the monks at the monastery, which you would then be rewarded with gold. And so it's a unique little twist of, sure, it's just points technically, but the thematic idea of, yeah, these monks want to take advantage of merchants coming to town, and should you visit the Vineland Tract, you would receive 12 gold. And you would discard the letter because you delivered it. And many of the pages in the book have little twists like that. Like, had we gone to Razorbeak Canyon, you can pick up little tourists who will just ride with you for the trip all the way to Dragon City and pay you a little gold for each place you take them. So, nice little interesting interactions with the world that way.
And so basically each round you're playing in a different location, right? And so you're getting this really varied game that changes from round to round, and each time you play, you're going in different paths. So that's just, creating an interesting combination, right?
That's what's so cool about it, is because it's not just the different paths that you might take, because that's one layer of variability, right? But you're only going to do one A encounter. As you notice at the bottom of the left page, there's a B encounter now. Well, again, there's 5. So the odds that you're going to take the same path, encounter the same encounters, draw the same contracts, or have the same wagons come up is virtually impossible, right? And so, yes, the start point is the same, but there are actually 2 endpoints, because when you get to the Dragon City, there are 2 different places that you could go in there. So it is such a wildly variable game as far as the experience, and yet the better you get at the game, the more you're able to understand that there's actually a lot of strategy in directing the paths and how you manage it. Do I want to play a short caravan with few workers but lots of cargo space, or do I want to get all the workers and all of these things? Do I want to lead the charge as the leader and make decisions but maybe fight monsters first, or do I want to hide in the back and hope that the strong leader kills the monsters for me? So, there's all of that. I know we don't have much time, so I don't want to run us through another page there, but if you wouldn't mind just flipping to the place we didn't go, I can show you, the difference there in Razorbeak Canyon, so you just get an idea of the first couple of places.
There was a question from the chat about how many pages are there in the book? How many possibilities are there in here?
So there are, I believe it's 17 locations. 17 locations. And
how many do you play with each
6.
game?
You will only visit 6.
Okay.
So you will always start at the outpost, and you will always finish on map 16 or 17, and the 4 in the middle will be variable. Now, obviously, as you start down certain forks in the road, it eliminates certain possibilities from that particular journey. But there's a lot of variation, and as you get to know the maps, you also get to understand that, well, if I'm playing X strategy, then it's very smart for me to I want to travel this particular path. And then, and so you'll bid for guide and try to direct the caravan accordingly. So I think it's a rare thing to have a game that offers so many strategic options while doing so in a very easy to grasp rule set. I think the rule book is like 8 pages, 8 to 12 pages max, big print. And you can learn in under 10 minutes and you're ready to go. So it's very accessible, but it can be played at a high level. And
it's a
so it's fun
worker placement type game with a bit of almost of a story element to it, right? That's
exactly.
intriguing.
It doesn't technically have a narrative itself, but literally it becomes memorable when you play it, because you remember, oh, we went to such and such place and we fought that monster. Because the monster or the event will be different, it makes each game stand out in your memory a little more. And I think that even though I'm a very competitive player, it's mini games, they're less rewarding if you didn't win, right? But in this, you still had that journey. You still remember, there's so many opportunities for cool little things to happen that even if you didn't win, you're like, oh, but you remember when your wagon got eaten by the beast? That was pretty funny, and then I defeated the beast or whatever. So it creates memories even beyond just the competitive nature of the game. And I think that that's just another example of Scott's genius,
Well, one last question before we can maybe go into
go ahead, please.
Where and when we can get a hold of this. The Crystal Peaks, is that an expansion or is that part of the game itself?
So the Crystal Peaks, what we're hoping is that Almanac the Dragon Road will be successful enough to launch a second book. We have it in mid-stage development, and what's interesting is the Crystal Peaks would take place in the same fantasy world of Byloria. It would have its own unique locations, all of which already exist but would still need to be tested, and all of the components are interchangeable. Okay, so all of your contracts, it's a complete standalone game, but all of your contracts, alternate wagons, and even your encounters from the Dragon Road, if you wanted to mix them all together or bring them in, perhaps you wanted to do the Dragon Road, all of the stuff from that can be brought in to either or, and you just mix them and have one giant adventure. So it stays with the trend of the variability of play and the story that you encounter each time. So
it's not quite an expansion, but
it's a
there's an interconnection.
And the box, you may notice, and of course the name Almanac, right? They look like weighty tomes, and so you could, have your collection of almanacs like bookshelved up on your game shelves, and play in the series. And of course, we'd love for there to be more. Yeah, there you go, exactly. And so Crystal Peaks would just go right next to that. And we're hoping that, there's enough interest for Crystal Peaks to become a thing, because we'd love to work with Scott again.
So when can people get a hold of this?
So it is available right now through our European friends, Matago. You can go to the Colossal Games Facebook page, and there's a link there to the Matago Shopify page for SN.digital. They're selling this for us there, as well as my own game Totemic, and those are the two main offerings we have for digital lessons. So just check us out on Facebook, and if you're interested in Dragon Road, just pick up one.
Well, thanks so much, Chris. That is Almanac and the Dragon Road from Colossal Games.
Thank you so much. Everybody have fun.